This shot was a lot more revealing than I intended.
Look away, look away.
Hello everyone, welcome to another video. So, last week, Lemony Snicket's latest book, Poison for Breakfast, was released. And let me tell you, I loved it. I knew I had to make a video about it, but I didn't just want to sit here talking about it, because this book is all about going out into the world and experiencing things and then reflecting on what you've learned. So I thought, because Poison for Breakfast takes place in one day and we follow all of the events that Lemony Snicket does, why don't I become Lemony Snicket for a day? I know, what a brilliant idea. So, here's the plan. I have made myself an Excel spreadsheet and I have gone through Poison for Breakfast. I've looked at the routine that Lemony does and I'm going to visit all the places. I'm going to try and have philosophical thoughts like Lemony does in the book. And at the end, I will see if I'm a new person, if I feel I have become Lemony Snicket, if I've learned anything about myself. It's going to be a journey. So without further ado, the first and probably most important thing is to make breakfast. For breakfast, Lemony Snicket had tea with honey, a piece of toast with cheese, one sliced pear, although I had an apple because I don't like pears, and an egg perfectly prepared. It's at this point that he finds a mysterious note and he decides to go on a quest to find out who sent it. Okay. So, the first thing Lemony does is he goes to a tea shop and he finds it's closed. And while this helps him to have philosophical thoughts, I didn't think it would make the most interesting footage. So I thought we'd move on to the next bit, which is where Lemony decides to visit a market. And he's doing this to see if he can find a beekeeper who made the honey that he had with his tea. So I've come to a place where there's a local market and I'm going to try and see if there's anywhere that's selling honey. I might not be able to find it, but I'll give it my best shot. Here goes. After visiting the honey stall and meeting the beekeeper, Mr. Snicket is inspired to go and jump in the sea to clear his thoughts. Now, I don't live by the sea, but I did manage to find a river. Although it was a lovely day, I was really nervous about getting in the freezing cold water, but I knew Lemony Snicket did it, and therefore I would have to do it too. After that elegant display, in which I discovered I can't really swim, I then moved on to the next part of Lemony Snicket's journey, which was going to the local supermarket. Lemony Snicket does this to see if he can find out more about the source of his poisoning, his breakfast food. As he wanders around the supermarket, Mr. Snicket talks about how he finds the abundance of food very overwhelming, but he's very grateful for it at the same time, and I completely agree with this. As I was browsing, I noticed a couple of very Lemony Snicket-esque things, such as a lone egg. Mr. Snicket talks a lot in this book about what came first, the chicken or the egg. I also saw a smashed and very sad flamingo, and all in all, I was very relieved when the whole experience was finished. Next up, Lemony Snicket goes to a park that has some goats in it, and he talks about how goats are one of his favourite animals. Now, I live near no such thing. There's a park nearby, Oh Jesus, I just thought there was a spider on my arm. It's just a shadow. There's a park nearby, but not a park with goats in it. However, there is a farm shop thing that has goats. So I'm going to go and see if I can pay the goats a visit and whether they will cause me to have any deep philosophical thoughts. Just having such a lovely time. For some reason, the farm had a dinosaur, and so, of course, this had to happen. I'm here all week. After observing the goats, Lemony Snicket's taking a walk in the park when he falls over onto some gravel, and instead of getting up, he just lies there for a really long time. And he thinks about how being a clumsy person allows him to see the world from a different perspective. And so, as you can see, I literally spent, I think it's 10 minutes here, I'm going to cut the footage down, lying and just staring into the gravel. I can't say I had any deep thoughts, but it was interesting. It was something new. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say about that. Anyway, on to the next bit. The final part of Mr. Snicket's journey takes place at his local library because he says whenever he has a bewildering problem, going to the library and looking at the books or talking to a friendly librarian always helps things make sense. So that's where I went next. So I'm here in the library. I'm trying to be quiet. But in the book, Mr. Snicket, Lemony, essentially talks about how libraries are a place that he always feels safe and always felt safe. And I completely agree. I basically grew up in libraries. I know it's a cliche, but I was very much like Matilda, getting my whole big stack of books. And I used to be so excited to go because I knew that it wasn't expensive, you didn't need to buy anything, you could choose a book without any pressure. And so I always feel safe in a library and I really love coming to them. And if you're not a member of a library, I think you should definitely sign up. And also I think it's quite fitting that this is the place where suddenly everything about the mystery makes sense. So yes, I was really looking forward to visiting this and I'm really pleased I came. Love libraries. So I'm going to have a browse of some books. In the book, Lemony talks about how finding the note allowed him to go on his own adventure. So I found a copy of a series of unfortunate events and decided to put the note from the beginning in the book in the hopes that someone else will find it and go on their own journey. Hello everyone. So, it's the next day. I am knackered. But, as I said at the beginning, I think it's time to reflect on everything that's happened because it was an experience. At the end of Poison for Breakfast, Lemony Snicket says this. I might abridge it a bit because it's like a whole page. We must try, all of us, a lot of the time our best, and we must keep trying. We do not understand anything, but we should try our best to understand each other. We should swim and walk in parks, thinking. We should buy food and think about where it comes from. We may feel native to where we are, or feel displaced, or both, but nevertheless we should keep reading. We must read mysterious literature and be as bewildered by it as we are by the world, and we should write down our ideas, turning our stories, as if by magic, into literature. I love that. This book was genuinely just what I needed, and if I hadn't read it, I would never have done any of the amazing things that I've done over the past day. My favourite thing was probably swimming in the river, and that's something I was really nervous about because I was like, it's going to be so cold. But once I did it, it was so much fun, and I had such a lovely time. It genuinely did completely clear my head, which is just what Lemony Snicket said it would. I also loved meeting the goats. I had no idea there would be baby goats there, and it was so lovely to see them. It's also funny because I go to Aldi every week for the shop, but because I was filming it, I was seeing it through a whole new perspective, and I was seeing the displays that looked kind of arty and interesting, and the whole thing went by really quickly. I felt like I was having almost a nice time. Which I don't normally feel, because obviously when you're doing your shopping it's stressful, but by taking a step back and seeing it through the camera, I had a lot of fun. I thought about how I'm moving off to uni, and obviously this is like the week before I go, and if I hadn't been filling my time with things, I probably would have felt really anxious. But because I did this, it really allowed me to make the most of my time, and it showed me that you can turn what would otherwise be a completely ordinary and normal day into something really interesting and exciting, and you can do that every single day. Obviously, I might not be able to jump in a river, but I could cook breakfast. That made me feel happy, and it made me feel full of energy. If I'm feeling stressed, I could pop into a library because that made me feel really calm and relaxed. I could leave people notes in books because that made me feel excited. Or I could go out and be in nature because that helped me gain a bit of perspective. And so living like this, even for a day, enriched my life so much, and I'm really grateful I did it. If you enjoyed this video, you can give it a like, and you can also hit subscribe, but only if you fancy. I hope you have a lovely week, and I hope this inspires you to be a bit spontaneous and try new things, and try and see if you can make the mundane that little bit more exciting. I'll see you next time. Bye!